Welcome friends. In the last lecture we learned about a fundamental approach of how to solve a problem using root locus technique when the value of a parameter, say the gain of an open loop system, is varied for the entire range of its value so that the stability of the closed loop system can be studied with the knowledge of the open loop poles and zeros. But when it comes to solve a problem of higher order, what should be our approach? So today let us take a problem which is a problem of higher order system model, and to solve a problem of such a dimension using the root locus technique for studying its stability over the range of values of certain parameters of the system, we will use a simple step-by-step approach. And at the same time, because to solve a higher order system we have to follow certain steps in a very smooth manner, we will learn the rules while solving the problem. So we'll take a problem and we'll learn the rules, and we'll see that how the root locus technique can be implemented on problems using a better or simpler and systematic approach. So let us start with a problem. So let me give the heading the root locus technique through a problem. So as we discussed that we can take a open loop system. So let us take an open loop system as GSHS. So GSHS equal to K divided by S into S plus 4 into S square plus 4S plus 20. So this is open loop system. So as we take the open loop system, let us find out the open loop poles and zeros. So open loop poles should be S equal to 0. First one is equal to -4, second one, and third one, if we go to find the factors and solve for S, we will get S equal to -2 plus minus J4. And open loop zeros are basically none, so there are no zeros. So when we start solving such a problem, the first thing we see that where are the poles and zeros located, that is open loop poles and zeros. So let us mark it. We have this plane, so we can draw the sigma axis and j omega axis, and let us plot the poles and zeros. So as there are no zeros, so we plot the poles. So we have the point -2, so we can take -1 over here, then -2 over here, then we can take here we have J1, so we have J2, we have J3, and we have J4, like this. like this. So similarly on the negative real axis we will have starting from 0 over here. So we have minus j1, minus j2, minus j3 and minus j4. So the first plot is the pole at the origin, so I place a pole at the origin. The second plot is a pole at minus 4, so this is again minus 3 and again minus 4, minus 4, so I place a pole over here. Then we have minus 2 and j4. Over here I have this as minus 2 plus j4. Again we have minus 2 minus j4, so this is minus j4, minus 2 minus j4. So that is how we have to plot it. And so here once we plot the open loop transfer function, the first rule we should see is that rule 1. The rule 1 is that the root locus is symmetric about the real axis. So once it is symmetric about the real axis, we should see that wherever the roots will be drawn, it should be drawn symmetrically about the real axis. Like some root locus is like this, so the other part should be like this, or some root locus is like this, other part should be like this. So that we should keep in mind. So this is the first rule. We will implement it later, but we keep in mind that root locus is symmetric about real axis, real axis. Then comes the rule 2, from where we will start drawing the plots actually and making a better idea about the root locus. So what is rule 2? Let us write over here. Rule 2. So as the k increases from the value of 0 to infinity, so the value of k will start from 0 at the pole. So wherever is the pole, from there the trajectory of the root locus will start and it will terminate at 0. If 0 is not there, then it will terminate at infinity. So as k increases from 0 to infinity, each branch of the root locus originates from an open loop pole with k equal to 0 and terminates either at an open loop 0 or an infinity with the value of k tending to infinity. So therefore the number of branches terminating on infinity is equal to the difference between the number of poles and zeros. That is important, because for a causal system we should have the number of poles should be either equal or greater than 0, while for a stable system it should be definitely be greater than 0. That is, the number of poles should be the greater than number of zeros if we want asymptotically stable system. So if the system model is like that, the number of poles and determinants will give the idea of whether the system is causal and asymptotically stable. So let us write this rule in words. As k increases from 0 to infinity, from 0 to infinity, each branch of the root locus originates from an open loop pole, definitely with k equal to 0, and terminates either at an open loop 0, either at an open loop 0, or on infinity with k tending to infinity. The number of branches terminating on infinity equals the number of open loop poles minus number of open loop zeros. So it means if number of open loop poles is equal to n and number of open loop zeros equal to m, then number of root locus branches terminating at infinity is n minus m. Next we go for rule 3. So this rule second will be implemented soon once we start working from rule 3. So the next rule is that a point on the real axis on the root locus, if the number of open loop poles and number of open loop zeros together on the right of that point is odd, then definitely that portion of the root locus should be on the real axis. In other words, given a point on the real axis of the root locus, if the number of poles plus number of zeros on the right of that point is odd, then the trajectory on the right of that point should be on the real axis. So this rule can be written in words like a point on the real axis lies on the root locus if the number of open loop poles here it is n, and addition of the number of open loop zeros here it is m on the real axis to the right of this point, is odd. So let us understand this concept. So for your understanding, I had taken the points through a scale only in the first figure, but for the sake of limitation of time, I am drawing a rough sketch here so that we can draw it fast. J4. So this is minus J4. So you see the poles are here, 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 and here. So this portion of the root locus is there on the real axis because the number of poles plus zeros on the right of -4 is always odd number up to the pole at s equal to 0, because beyond s equal to 0 we see that there are no poles on 0, so that is an even number. So we draw like this. So this includes your rule number 3 as well as the symmetry is shown. So rule number 1 is also followed over here. Now we'll see that the roots which are terminating at infinity, how, at which angle and or at which position it will start and terminate, that we have to check. So for that we see that the branches of the root loci which are terminating at infinity should belong to certain asymptote which are symmetrical in nature, and they are specific lines and intersecting the real axis at certain point. So for this we should go for the rule 4. So let us write the rule 4. So the n minus m root locus branches that tend to infinity do so along straight line asymptotes, making angles with real axis given by we use a well established mathematical formula for this. So this formula is phi a angle or asymptote is equal to 180, this is 180 degree, to 2q plus 1, then n minus m. So we start with the value of q from 0, 1, 2 like that, and we'll terminate at n minus m minus 1. So this is minus 1 is coming because we are starting from the 0. So here we have n as the number of poles and m as the number of zeros. So because we have in our case n equal to 4, m equal to 0, so we can write this like phi a equal to 2q plus 1 into 180 degree divided by n minus m is 4, with q varying from 0, 1, 2, then n minus m minus 1 is 3. So what are these values actually? So we start from q equal to 0, we will find 180 by 4 is 45 degree, and it is all multiple of 45 degree. So it becomes 45 degree, then 135 degree, then it becomes 225 degree, then it becomes 315 degree. So you can take a pause of this lecture and calculate yourself to verify it. So let us plot it and see how this will come. But before plotting, we have to find out at which point of the real axis, so this asymptote which are the straight lines will cross. So for that we have to go through another rule, that is rule 5. So these rules may vary from the rules given in the textbooks, because I found that there are certain points where the order of the rules should be changed as per our requirement. So the order has been changed in this presentation. So the point of intersection of the asymptotes asymptotes with the real axis is at s equals to minus sigma I. So that minus sigma I point is obtained by summing the real parts of the poles and subtracting the real parts of the zeros from this and divided by n minus m. So why we are speaking about real parts? Because in the summation the complex conjugates will have the complex parts that are plus and minus, that will be cancelled. So we write sigma real part of the poles minus sigma real part of the zeros whole divided by n minus m. So if you place values, we will see that we have minus sigma, in our case minus sigma a equal to, the one pole is at the origin, another is at minus 4, and other two complex conjugates are at minus 2 plus minus j4, so minus 2. So no zeros, divided by n minus m is 4 minus 0. So this will basically give us minus 2. So minus 2 is the point where we are crossing the real axis. So let us draw it for understanding. So we have taken minus 2 minus 4 plus j4 minus j4. So we have all the poles over here. This is the plot, and we see that some asymptote is at starting from 45 degree, 225 degree, then 135, means like this, all at 45 degree difference, right? So we can write here there is 45 degree, and here it is 135 degree, then it is 225 degree, then it is 315 degree. So like that, this angle is 315 degree. So that way we are finding the asymptotes where the poles terminating where the branches terminating at infinity will be determined, means this will terminate at k equals to k tends to infinity, or this will for k tends to infinity. These are for k tends to infinity, all this k tends to infinity. So let us go for the next rule, because we know that on the real axis the poles will be symmetric and will be on the real axis as soon as there are odd number of poles and zeros on the right of that entity on the real axis. So we can draw some arrow like this on the real axis. But for the complex conjugate roots, how it should start or emerge where k equal to 0. So at this point k equal to 0, here k equal to 0, here k equal to 0, and here k equal to 0. So how the root locus will emerge? It can emerge like this, or it can emerge like this, it can emerge like this. So what is the exact direction in which it can emerge? We have to find it out. So for that, let us consider the departure of the open loop poles and zeros that are complex in nature. So for that we have to use a simple formula. So let us see, this is the rule 6. So this is rule 6. Rule 6, angle of departure of open loop complex conjugate poles is given by phi p equals to 180 degree. So there are different values of number of poles. So for the different formula are given. So to simplify it, I make it 180 degree plus phi. So where phi equals to the net angle contribution at a given pole of all other open loop poles and zeros. Open loop poles and zeros. So this contribution we will understand little later with illustration. So similarly we can define phi z equals to 180 degree minus phi, where phi equals to the net angle contribution at a given zero of all other open loop poles and zeros. So let us understand this with illustration, because when you see the formula it looks little bizarre. So with illustration it will be easy. So we have the poles at J4 minus J4, sigma j omega axis. Maybe some places I am missing to write sigma j omega. You have to definitely write sigma j omega in the exam very clearly. So here we have the two poles are on the real axis, so you need not worry. The complex poles, we start from the first one like this. So for this angle contribution we have to find out phi. So let us check the contribution at this pole. We can write it pole P1, P2, P3. So contribution at this pole P3 due to the pole at the origin, this angle, and pole at -4, this angle. These two angles together can be given as 180 degree. So there is no pole, there are no zeros, so we write angle due to 0 minus angle due to pole. So these two poles together we give a contribution of 180 degree, and the third one is this one will definitely give a contribution of 90 degree. So these two will together give a contribution of minus 270 degree. So we have to find phi p for first pole. This is 180 degree plus phi. So we have 180 degree minus 270 degree is equal to minus 90 degree. So for this, the P3, we have the departure in this side, in this direction. In this direction we have the departure. Similarly, if you can find contribution for the other pole, that is P4, then you can find that for that phi equals to 0 minus, again the two summations together will be minus 180 degree and minus 90 degree will be for the other pole P3, then it will become 270 degree. So for this, if you want to find phi p, that is the angle of departure, you will see that this has become 180 degree plus 270 degree. This becomes 360 degree plus 90 degree, 90 degree. This is again equal to 90 degree. So therefore, the departure will be in this direction, in the direction of the arrow. So this way we can find out the departure of the root locus branches from the complex poles or zeros. Similarly, once we find out the departure from all the poles and arrival at all the zeros, we can proceed further to find out the breakaway point of the root locus branches. So let us see. So we consider this as rule 7. So we have rule 7. Rule 7. The breakaway points. The breakaway points of the root locus are determined from the roots of the equation dk by ds in our case, because we have the parameter here as the gain of the open loop system, so we are asking for dk by ds. So here in addition we can say that are branches of the root locus which meet at a point breakaway at an angle of plus minus 180 degree by r. So this concept we will use while implementing this breakaway point on the real example. So let us see how to find out the characteristic equation or the equation for dk by ds in our case. So in our case, you can see that the characteristic equation 1 plus gs hs equal to 0. In our case, it is given by 1 plus k divided by s into s plus 4 into s square plus 4s plus 20. this is 0. So from where you have to find out what is k. So k equals to minus s plus s into s plus 4 into s square plus 4s plus 20. So we are making it simple and clearing the brackets. So let us see how it will be simplified. You take a pause because I have solved it beforehand to save the time. You take a pause and do it yourself to simplify. So this is minus s square plus 4s square plus 4s plus 20. Then further it can go for minus s power 4 plus 4s cube plus 20 square plus 4s cube again multiplying plus 16 square plus 80s. So this can be simplified to minus s power 4 plus 8s cube plus 36 square plus 80s. So from this later we will use another form which will be like s power 4 plus 8s cube plus 36 square plus 80s plus k. So this is just for future. I am keeping it. We'll utilize it later. So, but as of now we will utilize this one, value of k. So from this you find dk by ds. Differentiate k with respect to s. So you will get minus of 4s cube plus 24 square plus 72s plus 80 equal to, make it 0. So once you make it 0, the 4 can be taken in common and we can take a simple equation in cubic form. S cube plus 6 square plus 18s plus 20 equal to 0. So by hit and trial you can see that s equal to minus 2 is a root of this. So once you find a root of this, you can solve it by either by dividing this equation with s plus 2 or taking a factor of this. So how you can take a factor of this? You write s plus 2 as a common. Now I am taking upon this. So if you take s plus 2 as a common, write s square. So you will be left with 4s square. So therefore I can take it as this plus 4 square. So for 4 square, or I can write it in a simple way for your understanding, because I have taken 2s square, right? Minus 2s square plus 6 square plus 18s plus 20. This is the simplest way. I am explaining you in the simplest way. So s plus 2 s square. Now these two together will become 4 square. So I have taken 4s. So again s plus 2. So from here you are taking 8s. So you are left with 10s. So I taken 10 common. So it becomes s plus 2. So that is how you can solve it. So you are with square plus 4s plus 10 into s plus 2. S plus 2. If you want to find a root of this, then this is equal to 0. Therefore s can be solved for minus 2 already is the factor. Another root of s is minus 2 plus minus j root 6, which is nothing but equal to minus 2 plus minus j 2.45. So this is the breakaway point. So let us draw the plot in a better way. So we have the S-plane where we are drawing the root locus sigma j omega axis. Here we have -2, here we have -4, here we have j4, here you have -j4, and these are the roots of the open loop transfer function. Sorry. Here we have the roots of the open loop transfer function. Then we have drawn up to here. Both the roots are projecting here. We have taken that the asymptotic straight lines are here at 45 degrees each. Then as we have find a point plus minus j 2.45, here minus j 2.45. So here roots are evolving again. From here roots are evolving, from here roots are evolving like this roots are evolving. From here also roots are evolving. We have find out in the last part of the rule. Then this will come up to this point. This will come up to this point. From here again the roots will change its path. So from up to here it will come like this. To here it will come like this. Then from this point, how to find out the angle? So for that we use plus minus 180 by r. So plus minus 180 by r. 180 by r. Where is the r? Is the number of branches of the root locus which are meeting. So r is the branches. Sorry, number of branches of the root locus meeting at a point. So here two branches are meeting, so we have plus minus 180 by 2. So definitely this is plus 90 and equal to minus 90. It should be like this. So your departure should be like this from this point. So once you depart, you will proceed towards the asymptote like this. So you proceed towards the asymptote like this, and here also on the right side of this point, like in this direction, at which point you are intersecting with the imaginary axis, you have to find out that by using the Routh stability criteria, that is the Routh table. So we write our rule 8, which will give the intersection of the root locus branches with the imaginary axis, and it can be used by Routh criterion. So intersection of the root locus branches with the imaginary axis can be determined by the use of the Routh criteria. So as we had written a specific equation including k, that is s power 4 plus 8s cube plus 336 square plus 80s plus k equal to 0. You can draw the Routh table from this, and here we use the Routh criteria very smartly so that we can make use of this technique, the Routh array. The Routh array is like that. You have s power 4, s cube, then s square, then s power 1, like this. So we start by writing 1, 8, 36, 8. This is 80s. So this is 80. Then k, here 0, and others are 0, like that. So let us try to solve it, because these two are multiple of 8, so we can write 1 and 10 over here. So it becomes easy. Directly I can write 26 over here, so it becomes k. So again, if we take this and this, then it becomes 260 minus k divided by 260 divided by 226. Then it becomes 0, and this k comes over here. So therefore you can write that if we have to find out the auxiliary equation, then we have to take this row as all elements 0. So 260 minus k divided by 26 equal to 0 implies that k equals to 260. So when k equal to 260, becomes 0. You have s square plus 10 equal to 0 implies that s equals to plus minus j root 10, which gives you the crossing of imaginary axis as s equal to plus minus j 3.16. So once you get this, you can go back to the root locus we have plotted. You can go back to the root locus we have plotted over here, and you can say that this point on the imaginary axis is, this point is j 3.16, and again here we have minus j 3.16. So with this we can say that the root locus will cross the imaginary axis like this, and it will reach the asymptote in this way. So here also it will cross the imaginary axis like this, and it will reach the asymptote in this way. See how the root locus will vary over here, then over here, then over here, and over here, like this. And arrow I should give it with different color for making it clear. So I can give the arrow over here, then arrow over here, here also I am giving the arrow, so that we can understand very clearly how the branches are departing. So from here it goes like this, then like this, then like this, like this. So that is how we can see that the root locus is plotted for this given open loop system. And at a given point of the root locus, if you want to calculate the gain, you have to use the formula. That is our next rule. That is rule. This is rule 9. It says that the open loop gain k, the open loop gain k in pole 0 form, at any point, is not on the root locus, locus is given by k equal to, this is the product of the factors, so S naught plus Pj, where j varies from 1 to n, that is giving the number of poles. These are all product of factors. Similarly, product of the factors for the zeros, you can have S0 plus Z of I, where I varies from 1 to m. So this is nothing but the product of phasor length from S0 to open loop poles. These are simply the calculation of lengths if you can plot on the graph paper. So this divided by product of phasor lengths from S0 to open loop 0. So this is how we can use these 9 rules to draw the root locus for any problem, even though there was not a single zero in this problem, but using the same technique you can use to draw a root locus for a open loop system with poles and zeros and the gain k, or any other parameter. Even it can be varied, and you can determine the range of values of those parameters for which the system is stable. So this much is for today, and in coming lecture we shall explore few more problems on root locus. So friends, if you find this lecture useful to you, please like the video on the screen, and if still you have not subscribed, please subscribe it for newcomers to watch this video. Subscribing is important because if you are not in my student group, I cannot approach you directly and share with you the next lecture. But if you subscribe it and set the bell icon for notification whenever I will upload a new video lecture, you can get intimated easily. Those who want to ask queries, they can send me email through my email ID controlsystemsfaq@gmail.com. So thank you for your patient listening.